Hey, everybody. I thought today for our family devotional, I would go over a story with you that I think is super cool. It's from the Old Testament. It's when the Israelites were captured and being held in a land called Persia. And there's a couple different characters in this story. And when I mention them and what they do, I thought it'd be cool if we did something that most Jewish kids do. So when I say the name Mordecai, I want everybody to cheer. Woo! Yay! Because he's a good guy. Same with Esther. Esther's a queen who is Jewish, and she's a hero in this story. So yay, Esther! And then when we say a name like Haman, boo, boo, he's a bad guy. Haman is the evil guy in this story, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then there's King Xerxes. He's the king of Persia, and he has a role to play in this. But so when we say Esther, Mordecai, we're going to cheer, and when you hear the name Haman, you're going to boo. So the story of Esther kind of goes like this. Israel is captured by Persia, and the king throws a huge party, and he decides that he is going to basically kick out his wife. It's not the greatest thing, but it happened, and he decides that he doesn't want to be married to this particular queen anymore, and so he gets rid of her, and he decides he's going to hold a beauty contest. And in this beauty contest, Esther appears. Woo! Yeah, there you go. And she disguises herself from being Jewish, and she actually wins this beauty contest. It's really kind of cool. Um, and the king is so infatuated with her that he decides he is going to promote her to queen. And that's what he does. He promotes her to the queen. And so after Esther is promoted to queen, Mordecai happens to overhear two guards plotting against the king. And he decides he's going to go to Esther, and he just simply tells Esther, look, I've overheard these two guards are going to kill the king. You have to tell the king. So she does. And Mordecai receives all the credit, and he is promoted. And everybody is super happy about this. And shortly after this, we see a guy named Haman. Boo! Boo! Haman. Yeah. He is Canaanite. He's not Persian, but he's a super bad guy. And he makes this. He gets promoted to like second in charge, or just gets promoted, and he decides that everybody has to bow down to him. And Mordecai, yay, Mordecai, he refuses. He won't bow down. So Haman gets so angry. Ooh, Haman. And he decides he rolls these dice, and he decides that on the 13th month of Adar, he is going to have all the Jews killed. And he tricks the king Xerxes into signing this decree that this was going to happen. And they have this big banquet and a big party or whatever. And Mordecai finds out about this evil plan to kill all the Jews, and he decides that he needs to get Esther involved. So he goes to Esther and he says to her, you have to tell the king what Haman's plans are. But there's one little problem. There's this weird decree or law in Persia that if a queen comes to the king without being asked or without being summoned, and she asks for something, that she can be killed. It's very strange, I know. And so this is kind of the backdrop for what's happening. Mordecai says to Esther, well, I'm so confident that God is going to find a way to make this work out, that even if you die, deliverance will come from somewhere else. And then he says this very cool line, and this is going to be our Bible verse, and it is found in, he says in 4:14, and who knows whether or not you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Who knows if you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. And what Mordecai is saying is that maybe God put you in this place for this very reason. And what he wants her to do is he wants Esther to go to the king unannounced. And remember, that can be very dangerous. And he wants Esther to tell the king about Haman's horrible decision or decree. She says, well, I'm going to throw a party. That's what we're going to do. We're going to throw a party. And at the party, I'm going to tell the king what's happening. And what she does is she throws a party, and Esther's there, and Xerxes is there, and so is Haman. Boo, Haman. At this banquet, she tells King Xerxes of evil Haman's plan, boo, Haman, to kill all the Jews, and that she's actually Jewish. And so what ends up happening is the king has Haman killed on the very device that he was going to have Mordecai and all the Jews killed. Eventually, what we find out is that Mordecai is raised to second overall in the kingdom, and he comes up with this 2-day festival that honors the day that the Jewish people overcame their enemies and were able to stand with God and be delivered, even in the midst of persecution or trouble. And the reason why I chose this verse or this story is because the book of Esther is all about trust and hope. And sometimes we can't see what is happening, or we don't understand what's happening. Sometimes we don't understand what's happening. But we need to know and we need to trust that God is at work. It's kind of like that new song, Waymaker. We sing it sometimes in church, and we sang it last night in youth group. And the line of the bridge says, even when I can't see it, you're still working. Even when I don't feel it, you're still working. You never stop. You never stop. And that's pretty great. It helps me remember that even in these times, this time of isolation and not being able to go see our friends, and things are a little scary outside, it's okay. We just need to trust and hope that God is at work in our lives. Now, back to that memory verse that I was talking about earlier, where Mordecai says to Esther, who knows, maybe you were put in the kingdom for such a time as this. It kind of reminds me of us today. You see, you have special abilities and gifts and talents. I have special abilities, gifts, and talents. Your parents do. And who knows, maybe God put those in your life for you to bring him glory through. Maybe you're a good dancer. You should be using your gifts and your abilities to dance for Jesus. Maybe you can play the piano. Maybe you're really super smart in school. I was not. Maybe you like to act. Maybe you like to paint. Maybe you like to draw. Maybe you're super friendly and everybody loves you. These are all things that we can use for God's glory. And who knows, maybe God gave you those gifts and abilities. God gave me these gifts and abilities for such a time as this. That when the world is lost and scared, and it's a scary place out there, we can trust and hope that God is doing a work in our midst, even if we can't see it. So that's the story of Esther. That's the story of Mordecai, and how they were saved by God in a time where it seemed like all hope was lost and it was very dark and scary. Hopefully this story helped you understand and feel like these times we can trust and know that God is watching over us. All right, we love you guys, and I will be posting the verse with this video and some other resources that you can kind of have your parents look with you if you want to know more about the story of Esther. The entire story is actually found in the book of Esther in the Old Testament. So you can certainly read it. It is 10 chapters, so it's not too long, but it's a very cool story. So just thought you guys would want to know. All right, see you guys next week. Bye-bye.